And you are always welcome. Just earlier this week, you did announce your decision to suspend your presidential campaign. Can you walk us through what led to you deciding to suspend it?
Look, I did, and ultimately, here's the thing. Like, I'm running. I decided to run because the country is faced with a number of generational defining challenges. Right? We've talked about that. How AI is going to impact every single industry. We're learning how complicated and dangerous the world we live in continues to be. We're having to make sure our kids improve our scores in math, science, and reading. That's why I decided to run. And ultimately, the my pathway to victory was narrowing. And as the great Kenny Rogers said, you got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. And the time has come to make sure that we have a Republican nominee that can win in November. I don't want to see a rematch that nobody wants between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. And that's why getting behind Ambassador Haley, I think was the right move. She has the momentum, she has the experience, and she's the only person that's consistently polled as beating Joe Biden in the general election. And so this period between Halloween and Thanksgiving is very important. And so this is why I want to see if I can help someone and help Ambassador Haley continue her momentum.
Can you talk about how specifically you are going to help her? She did make waves in the debate, both times clashing with Vivek Ramaswamy, especially over foreign policy. So, what does that help look like?
Well, look, the help looks however they think it's valuable, right? And so we've already done a couple of digital things together. I'm going to continue to talk about issues that matter, and I'm there to help however I can be, and so that'll evolve over the next couple of days and weeks. But ultimately, when I have conversations like we're having now, talk about why I think she's the best candidate and explain, Donald Trump is not inevitable. I think the media and a lot of voters think that that's necessarily the case. Look, he's the front runner. There's no question about that. But he can be beat. And there's a lot of fallacies out there about this upcoming election. If I can continue to try to debunk those, I think that creates a space for somebody like Ambassador Haley.
How do you think she can find that pathway to victory? And how do you think he can be beat amongst those Republican contenders? Because every poll has him up at least 40 points. So, how do you narrow that gap, especially with Ambassador Haley?
Sure, and look, national polling versus individual state polling is different. When you look at the state polling in a place like New Hampshire, that margin of between number one and number two is less. Ambassador Haley's numbers in a place like New Hampshire have continued to grow, and one of the things that is not factored into a lot of the national narrative about a place like New Hampshire specifically is 40% of the primary electorate in New Hampshire is unaffiliated, meaning on election day they can choose a Republican ballot or a Democratic ballot. When it Joe Biden is not going to be on the Democratic ballot, so a lot of center left independents are going to be voting in the Republican primary. And there's not too many people that have the opportunity to target those folks. That's a group of voters that is not being reflected in a lot of the polling that's happening in New Hampshire. And Ambassador Haley can continue to grow her numbers. She's one of the few people in the race whose numbers consistently increase. The more people that see her, the more they like. And so she's got to continue doing that. Now, again, I'm not an official, person for the campaign, but these are just my perspectives as someone who's been on the ground. And also, we need people to get off the sidelines. We need Republican donors and Republican elected officials that think they can wait until we get into 2024 to endorse or show support of a candidate. If we want to have conservative thought in the White House to address these generational defining challenges, then we have to start making tough decisions today in order to ensure that that happens.